Hello everyone and welcome back to For the Love of Gaming Marathon. I'm here with Mushy, who is running Sonic 3 DA Garden Edition. Are you ready, Mushy?
Yeah, I am indeed.
Okay, let's do this. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh wait, there was an issue. Wait.
Oh, so Mushy's just got to make a quick change there. We're gonna restart the timer, yeah?
We are, yes. I'm just waiting for you to.
Okay, Mushy.
Wait. What is going on? Oh, now it's working.
Okay, go! Start the timer!
No,
Whoa.
not yet. Oh my god.
Oh, okay. We're restarting the timer. Okay, ready,
now
Mushy?
I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go! Alright folks, we are now off.
Sorry for the interruptions, but I thought that it was actually on Vanilla for some reason. Like, I had to be sure I was running S3 DA Garden, cause then that would be pretty dumb, right? But yeah, we are running S3 DA Garden. So, S3 is a remaster of Sonic 3 and Knuckles made by Eukaryote. And Sonic 3 and Knuckles was obviously made by Sega, as you all know. And, well, yeah, essentially that. We messed up a little at the beginning, but it shouldn't be anything too serious. And I accidentally fell off, but it's actually fine. This is technically the fastest way to do it, but I didn't do it in the fastest way at the same time. But only like 10 seconds. So it is fine, guys. Don't worry. So basically, DA Garden is a mod of S3 Air. I don't know who made it, but well, yeah, there's a bunch of mods that you can play on S3 Air, you know. It is actually why it is a somewhat popular game amongst Sonic fans, because you can actually play mods, and this just happens to be one of them. And essentially, DA Garden kind of changes up the level layout a little. And, you know, some of the levels are harder, some of the other levels aren't exactly harder, but are still different from what you would usually have in OG. So, essentially, it's almost an entirely different experience besides the bosses, which are the same. And also a few things, such as, for example, this cutscene, which is the same as well. But yeah, for the most part, it is a unique experience in comparison to Sonic 3 Air, Vanilla, like without mods. It is a different experience, essentially. And essentially, we got through Act 2 for the most part. Now we've got to deal with the boss, which is kind of a breeze when you have the fire shield. Unless you mistime this jump, which is extremely hard to mistime if you have the fire shield. And the fire shield makes you immune to the attacks anyway, so you would have to fall off to die to that boss. But thankfully we didn't, cause that would be pretty hard to do, and that would just be unlucky in general. Like, extremely unlucky, like the kind of stuff that essentially never happens. Like when you're using the fire shield. If you have the lightning shield, it is another story and it is a little harder to survive the boss there. But since we are playing DA Garden and there's no lightning shield in Angel Island 2 as far as I know, and even if there is, it is lower, then we just use the fire shield instead. And this is Hydro 1, you know, the levels a little different here. So essentially we just get through it quickly. We jump here, as this can get a little weird. This probably isn't the best way to get through that part, but as you can see, there were flies and all sorts of enemies there. So if we didn't jump, get through that specific part, it would get a little weird and hard, you know. And this was a little sloppy, but it is fine. And a little bit of lag here, but nothing too serious as well. And we got the quick kill on the boss, so at least there isn't anything that's like drastic in terms of time loss.
That was a
So
really
now
fast
we're
boss, well
going
done.
to Hydro 2, and I've got my parents here on the background, you know, my mom's cooking while my dad's eating, you know, so yeah. Now this is Hydro 2, you kind of just go through this stage normally. There is this cycle that you can go for, but I'm going to skip the cycle in the first place, even though it is a little bit of time loss. But it shouldn't be anything too serious. You're going to see what I mean by going for the cycle, which we won't. But we are losing a little bit of time due to not going for it, which is something that, you know, even in full game runs, I don't go for that normally. Like in PB attempts anyway, because I don't like to go for that cycle. You're going to see in a bit. So this slide we are going down on, like, normally you would want to stop instead of going down that slide, and then you want to land on a block that is above that slide in order to go fast. But I don't like to do that because it is a little weird. And if you miss the cycle, then you can probably lose even more time than what I'm losing by not trying to land on that block, which is on weird cycles, you know. Cycles are never good. I'm pretty sure y'all would know that by now, that cycles are just bad in general. I saved that casually. That was almost terrible until I got that lucky hit at the end. Usually you just wanna get through that boss just bouncing on it, you know, and like not having tails hit it, cause then you fall off, but I fell off and I got lucky to get all 8 hits without having to go extremely slow. So this is Marble Garden 1, this is where the cycles in this game really start to get annoying, and this is why this game is a little buffed, cause the different level layouts are actually not that good when it comes to not having cycles. Like, DA Garden has a lot of them, so, and I fell off there. I usually don't miss that jump, but essentially that's kind of the general gist of the jump. Like, you jump after picking up the 3 rings, and you don't fall off that platform. So now we are going to make use of the bubble shield as well as the speed shoes to go ahead and go through this stage quickly. And I accidentally lost bubble shield, but that is completely fine, you know. I actually kind of like it that way, because then I can just, you know, not have to fight the boss awkwardly without insta-shield. So here you don't have to use tails to get up there after the boss goes up, but it is just good to do it that way so that you can then bounce on the boss instead of having to hit it, so you don't get hit by the weird rails that the boss has.
That's really clean, well done.
Marble Garden 2, another level with cycles. Are there any donations?
We've not got anything at the moment, but now is as good a time as any to talk about some of the final runs that we've got this evening. So later on, Ryan Ford will be on with Metroid Zero Mission. Then we've got Nico Hart's run of Alien Isolation. And then we finish off with some Spyro 2, some Love 2, and some Maid of Sker. So please, guys, stick around for those runs coming up.
So I just made a cycle right there. That was like second cycle, but that is still pretty good. You know, I barely even make first cycle there. So, like, I barely ever make first cycle there. So the fact that I got second cycle isn't a big deal. And I could have gotten a jump there that is a little hard, but thankfully we have Tails here to help us out in case we miss that jump, so it is completely fine in the end. So even more cycles here, you kind of just want to make sure to not fall off even if you miss cycles there, and I kind of fell off, but it was fine, you know, not a big deal. So now you want to go up with Tails, and before Tails hits the boss, like before Tails reaches that wasn't even a boss. I don't even know why I mistook it with the boss. But anyway, you see that statue there? You wanna, like, when Tails is aligned with the nose of that statue, sort of wanna release up so that you don't accidentally go up like way too far up and then. But anyways, we died. But as I was saying, if you release up before you reach the nose of the statue, then Tails will just kind of hit it and then go down. Like it will hit the statue, if it makes any sense. That's what I was trying to say. And even though we died, it is fine, you know. I had to be safe there and not die again, I guess. So there's another statue coming up. These are kind of tricky to hit properly, but if you don't hit them properly, then it shouldn't be a big deal. Unless you fall off. And then there we go. Now this is the boss. So this boss is a little hard, but not necessarily like extremely hard unless you die. Like that's the real problem. That it isn't particularly like extremely hard, but you don't wanna die. Or that's like a huge time loss that you don't wanna take. You know. And I got the 3 cycle. I would have liked a 2 cycle, but that was good.
Pretty good, well done.
So now, this is Carnival Night. Carnival Night is a little bit of an interesting level. You know, like, at the beginning of both acts, you don't want to fall off there at the beginning, because it is, kind of not that easy to fall off there, like at the beginning, on the first 10 seconds, on the first 7 rather, in this act. But like if you fall off, that is an issue. You know, like it is time loss, obviously. In the first 7 seconds in the first act, and then kind of the same thing in the first 5 seconds of the other act. And well, the rest is kind of self-explanatory, just even more cycles in general. And this stage was actually not bad. This boss is a little tricky. You kind of just make the camera go down so that the little spinner thing doesn't go too far up, and so that we can do this boss quick kill strat that I didn't pull it off that well, but yet again, the stage wasn't bad, so that's pretty cool. Now we've got Act 2. Yet again, I made that jump right there that you don't wanna miss, and there's also that other jump to make it across that you don't wanna fail, or that's kind of bad news. Although you should be able to recover from that with tails or something. And this is a little weird, but yeah, it is fine. Made a little mistake there that cost me a few seconds, but nothing drastic yet again. And now we've got even more cycles. We all love cycles. You know, cycles are both bad and good at the same time. But yeah, essentially, here's a little sick trick that I do. Most people don't take top route here, like in this little section. Like this isn't a major difference, you know, like it isn't like a major difference to take top or bottom route there, but I went up with the barrel, and then, you know, since I don't lose bubble shield, it is actually a little faster to do top route the way I do it. And then, you know, I reset after getting that checkpoint, as you saw there, so that Tails comes right next to me, and then I can just use Tails assist to get up there, and that saves time over waiting for the cycles. You could technically YOLO it and probably save time if you actually get a good cycle there with those barrels, but I don't see why you would do that. Like unless you want that time save, which is like less than 2 seconds slower than just restarting the checkpoint there. And if you miss the cycles, that's probably like 5 seconds. And that is extremely hard to make those cycles, as I mentioned. So, yeah. Now we've got Ice Cap. You may have noticed throughout the run, it isn't anything that's a huge deal, but a mechanic that we speedrunners like to use is the Insta Shield, which gives you a second of immunity or something, if I recall correctly. You know, it gives you a period of invincibility against most things, except for getting crushed and, you know, falling off cliffs and stuff like that. Like, in general, you can avoid most things with the Insta Shield, you know, like general hits and stuff, so yeah, it is pretty useful, and you can also have a higher hitback. So you can hit certain bosses such as TN2 boss and just make a mockery out of them, as you saw. So yeah, Insta Shield is pretty useful for many things, you know, such as hitting enemies that are kind of a threat, you know, and you don't want to get hit by them, but it's hard to not get hit by them unless you're using the Insta Shield, you know. You can use it to, yet again, make fun and bully certain bosses. As you saw with Carnivore Knight 2 boss, which we totally wrecked. So, yeah, Insta Shield is pretty cool. And this was kind of just another stage, you know, Ice Cap 1. Yet again, more cycles as usual. And also, there's this cycle, you see those things that can crush you? There's one that's in a cycle. I don't know if it's global or not, because I don't even bother with it, but you don't want to get crushed by that thing. Like close to the minute mark. You saw that thing that I waited for. You don't want to get crushed by it, like around a minute and 3 seconds in game time in this specific run. Like you usually make it more around there anyways on average. You don't want to get hit, you don't want to get crushed by that thing, because it is a decent amount of time loss, obviously. But Ice Cap 2, It's a little less cycle based than most stages. I mean, kind of the same thing with Ice Cap 1. But yeah, we just got through this stage. We waited for the things that could have crushed us. And well, yeah. You don't want to short a spin dash before falling here, because if you try to risk it for just like a second of time save here, which isn't worth it, you can die if you decide to short a spin dash there and then release it as soon as you land. Like, it is just not worth the second of time save. And you just bounce on this boss. You want to wait a little bit before bouncing on bosses. That is something that you should note if you're running this game. You don't want to just immediately try to hit the boss with tails, or you won't bounce off it. So you've got to wait a little bit and then you land on the boss and you start bouncing on it. That's how you do it. And there's also raffle mirror boss threats, which are pretty sick. And you can do them for Ice Cap 2 boss. Not Ice Cap 2 boss, Ice Cap 1 boss and Hydro 2 boss. That's what I meant. You can do Raffle Mirror boss threats for Ice Cap 1 boss and Hydro 2 boss, you know. And that saves like 2 seconds over what most people do. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And that is a little easier, at least for me, than Saxon's threat, which were formerly the fastest ways of doing Hydro 2 boss, as well as Ice Cap 1 boss. So yeah. There's the cycle here, as you can see. It isn't really like that big of a deal to miss that cycle, but it is like 1 or 2 seconds, because if it's in a bad position, that platform there, you can't land on it. Like the one that moves up and down slowly. So yeah, that's good, we made the cycle. So this boss, you just use the insta shield and make sure to not get hit. You know, it isn't that big of a time loss to wait for that boss anyway, because you have to wait for it to go down regardless. So yeah. Now we restart checkpoint here, and then we've got this somewhat tricky jump that I pulled off. It isn't really like hard, but if you time it wrong, then you can kind of like slow down or maybe even fall off. Like the one at the very beginning, that jump is a little tricky. Like after doing the P route. I also slow down for this jump. It isn't like necessary that you do that if you wanna go fast, but I just like to do it that way. Just to not mess up. Cause that jump is a little hard. So you just land on that thing. And now we've got this boss here. You just gotta spam the insta shield. But you've gotta wait for this ball before continuing to spam the insta shield. And I still kind of messed up a little, but it was fine overall. So if you get to the first hit quickly, you wanna wait before doing the second hit, or you will get hit by that ball, you know? And that can kind of cause complications in the boss fight if you get hit by that ball. Now you've got this boss that I kind of messed up on. Hopefully I don't die. So if you do it right, you kind of just get into position here and do short jumps. And that kind of just allows you to get the one cycle if you do short jumps yet again. You know, like you do short jumps and then you spam the insta shield. You don't want to do large jumps or you will get hit. So yeah. Now we've got big arms. after that bus that I recycled. I could have one cycled it if I got into position properly, but it is fine. You know, nothing major if you miss the one cycle, usually. So this is going all right so far. I didn't get the 8 hits quickly. I could have gotten them quicker and saved like 8 seconds probably. But this is good. And yeah, in this is definitely a splice. A splice that my own PC is causing by lagging. You know, definitely. Like, my PC is lagging so bad that it looks as if I were doing a splice. But I don't know why I would splice a run that isn't exactly going that great. But anyway, you know, gotta go along with the joke, I guess. So it's
You're still looking fine on the stream.
Huh?
You're still looking fine on the stream. All good.
Am I lagging badly or am I doing well?
No, the stream looks fine. Your game is looking nice and good. And it's going well so far. Keep it up.
There were certain points in the run where my PC lagged a little. I mean, nothing major, but as Indes said, it kind of looks like a splice. Because my PC is lagging pretty bad at some point. Like, not extremely bad, but kind of. I don't know. So here you've got this bus, you just insta-healed here to get 3 hits, and I failed to follow the bus, but nothing major. And I'm glad you consider this run to be poggers, R4 and 84. So in Mushroom Hill 2, I just do a peel out at the beginning, and then I hold right and piano roll to sort of like make that jump there, because I don't want to bounce off that mushroom, because there's a chance that that mushroom kind of messes me up a little, you know, and I don't want that happening, like the one at the beginning after the cutscene. And essentially, for those of you wondering what piano rolling is, I'm pressing the 3 jump buttons and like mashing them in quick succession one after the other, so that I can both spin dash quickly and also make certain jumps that can be a little tricky. So yeah, piano rolling is like really useful in many situations. Like in a variety of situations, it can save your run sometimes. If you're like going for really risky jumps and say a dead run, seemingly, like a seemingly dead run, for example. But in general, it is just useful for a lot of things such as pendashing and jumping. And in other games where pass buffering isn't as weird as in this game, because pass buffering is a little weird for Sonic 3 Air, you can also pass buffer and then piano roll after run passing to make certain jumps a little easier in general. You know, you can make certain jumps a little easier by just pass buffering and then unpassing and piano rolling when you finally get the right pass. So yeah, piano rolling is really useful. And if you're say learning how to run Sonic in general, like any Sonic game, I recommend that you learn how to piano roll, because it will be one of the first things that will help you out. So I made that cycle there. You know, if I take too long, then that thing goes up without me being on it, like the little things that go up and down when I step on them. So yeah. Like those little platforms, some of them are on cycles, you know, like there's things that fly and then there are other things that are chained. So the ones that fly, you step on them and then they go up or down, obviously. And then the other ones that are chained are on cycles, like the little platforms. Um, so in DA Garden, as well as in Sonic 3 and Knuckles in the original, and also Sonic 3 Air, obviously, because it is a remaster of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, they actually play a little with those platforms that are chained up and then go up and down when the electricity is up, because the electricity is in cycles and it powers up these things, you know. So I'm on a weird cycle which can either be helpful or like really put me off rhythm here, because I don't reset checkpoints. But I guess it was good after all in this situation, because it wasn't slower, so you just try to carefully make this jump, you know, and I still kind of missed it, but yeah, if you land on these things properly, then you can make that cycle there, as you can see. Like, there's an upcoming cycle here. Let me see if I can make it. Oh, and we made it. Good. A cycle
Nice.
there at the end is a little rough. Are there any donations?
Not had any donations at the moment, but now's a good time then to remind people what the event is and why we're asking for your donations. All of the proceeds of this event goes to Heartland Animal Shelter. They are an animal shelter in Northbrook, Illinois, dedicated to finding permanent, loving homes for the dogs and cats in their care. While their animals await adopters, their incredible team of volunteers provides the much-needed emotional care, and their dedicated staff members make sure each animal is vaccinated, microchipped, and sprayed and neutered. They are a fantastic charity, so please, guys, hit that donate button, and let's see if we can get to that next $2,300 milestone.
So yeah, as the organizer said, you know what we are kind of like running at this event for. So if you feel like it, you're not obligated to. But if you have money in your pocket to donate towards a great cause, and you kind of feel like it, because you know we obviously cannot force you to, it would be pretty cool if you donated, you know. So basically, now we are getting to Sando 1. This level, surprisingly, isn't that cycle based here in DA Garden as it is in, say, OG. But still, there are a few cycles here and there, you know, kind of typical at this point when we are talking about this S3 air mod, you know, about the A Garden in general, you know, it has cycles, like a weird obsession with them, with cycles. So, yeah. So recently, we used to use bottom route, but by random chance, I found that bottom route is actually faster, and I accidentally grabbed that thing there that wasted a little bit of time. So you want to peel out here and then hold right, and you will make it to top route, which is technically faster if you do it right. And, well, yeah. So basically, you get here, you don't have to do it the way I do it, but this is how I do it safely with the lightning cube. I mean, I have it, so I might as well use it to make things a little easier for me. I went there, I did a one tap, and then at the edge of that little platform there that had the rank monitor in it, I did a one tap and then I did a jump and a lightning cube jump. And despite going a little slow on this level, I still went at kind of the same pace as you would with bottom route if you played really well. So yeah, this route is technically faster if you do it right. You know, top route is kind of cool, actually. I don't know, it just looks a little bit cooler, in my opinion, although that's just my opinion, yet again. Um, so, yeah, essentially that. That was Sando 1 right there. Um, I used to really struggle with Sando and this mod in general, but you just kind of naturally stop struggling with things a little once you play them a lot. I mean, I didn't play this mod for like months or anything, but I played it for long enough to eventually get used to Sando. But yeah, it does have some pretty nasty cycles, such as this one, that one with the weird moving thingies. Um, that one isn't particularly a hard cycle to make, and it isn't really a time loss if you miss it. But getting getting above those things that move to the left and then to the right, and then doing a jump while you're pure outing is a little hard for some reason. Like when you're on those moving things that are on a cycle, it's kind of hard to do a peel out and then do a jump. Um, and dinner's ready for me, probably, but it shall wait, because I'm obviously doing a marathon run. So, yeah, after this marathon run, I'm eating pasta, I guess. I mean, that's kind of unrelated, but I thought I would mention this. So on this level, I play it a little safe. You know, as you can see, I waited it out a little bit at the beginning. Like at 40 seconds, around 40 seconds, I waited a little after hitting that thing that makes the sand rise. And essentially, the reason why I'm doing it is so that I can do a semi-manip for tails. Like, it isn't really a manip, but I can kind of just deal with any kind of spawn. So if tails gives me a really bad spawn, it doesn't matter, because I'm already waiting for him for like a good 3 or 4 seconds or more. I don't know, I didn't time how much I'm waiting for, particularly because it wasn't really useful to know how much I'm waiting for, but I'm just waiting there. And then when I'm in a good position there, what I do is obviously I start doing tails assist, and then since I don't have to wait for tails as much, you know, like I basically have tails doing tails assist like way above where he would usually be if you were doing the YOLO way. You don't actually have to wait for tails to go down and then land and do tails assist again. After doing tails assist for the first time in this level. So it is a little convenient and probably makes up for the time that I lost anyway by waiting there. And it is just convenient to not have to, you know, deal with potentially just tails kind of ditching you at the last second and getting exhausted. So yeah, kind of that. So now this level has a few cycles yet again. I mean, it isn't even surprising at this point that this mod has cycles, but honestly they aren't that bad. The cycles are actually not that bad. They are lenient enough. So basically you just wait for a few cycles here and there at different points in the level, and you just make it across, and you can peel out to, you know, trigger these stairs, you know, the ones that go up when you spin dash on them, or down, such as in this one, you know, and you can peel out on them instead, and that way get through them as fast as possible, and that is just a little convenient to not have to piano roll there, because it can tire your hands out a little, in my opinion. And, you know, in general, it is just convenient to peel out on these elevators. So, yeah, essentially that. You can peel out on these elevators, you know, a little fun fact. And this level wasn't bad. So this is a really cycle heavy level, you know, it was pretty cycle heavy in vanilla anyways, you know, in both Sonic 3 and Knuckles and F3 Air. And here it is kind of the same thing, except this level is a little buffed. And I don't know, this level is just hard in general in DA Garden. And, well, yeah, essentially that. You hit this thing using tails to help you out a little bit. And then, oh, barely made it up there. So, yeah, that's kind of good, I guess. That I barely even made it up. So maybe a small time save there from barely making early cycle.
That looked really tight, well done.
Huh?
That looked really tight, well done.
Yeah, thanks. That wasn't like extremely tight. That isn't particularly like an extremely tight cycle, but it is decently tight. So now there's another cycle. I could have technically saved another cycle, but this is like probably the second best cycle I can get. RPG, the former world record holder for this game, is a little bit better at this stage than I am. But yeah. RPG is pretty good at this game, I must say. Kind of unrelated, but yeah, I made it through Labyrinth 2, which is riddled with cycles. So, all things considered, this was a good stage. Despite the weird stuff that happened. So basically this is just an auto-scroller. It isn't time save or time loss to just take your time here. No, it doesn't matter in the end because it is an auto-scroller after all. And this is kind of the hardest part of it. It isn't like extremely hard, but that is a little bit nerve-wracking to know you can die there. So thankfully we didn't. I'm gonna wait it out a little bit just to make sure I don't soft lock there. Because if you go down too fast, you can actually soft lock here. It is kind of easy to avoid the soft lock here by just waiting it out a little bit, but still. I just don't want to soft lock because that would be embarrassing and obviously time loss. So in F3 Air, in a recent update in 20.11, which is the version I'm playing on, they made a bunch of changes here. So this boss takes 8 hits before it is beaten, instead of the usual 14 and 20.07 in the previous versions, and also in OG, you know, in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And these changes carry out to DA Garden as well, so this also applies to DA Garden, and it allows us to save a little bit of time by doing nothing, I guess. So that was Labyrinth 2. Now we are on to Hidden Palace. You know, this is probably the most notoriously buffed stage in the entire mod. To be honest, they added a few spikes, nothing too serious, but it was just obvious that they buffed it here. Like, this is where it's kind of noticeable in comparison to other stages. Like, Hidden Palace was significantly buffed, even if it isn't insanely hard or anything that serious, but still. And essentially you just kind of make fun of Knuckles here a little. by just waiting it out here and then hitting Knuckles. Once he banks against the right edge of the boss arena, you know, you just insta-shield and then hit Knuckles there. You know, I lagged a little. Even if it wasn't noticeable here, like on the stream, but the game lagged a little. And, well, yeah. So we've got Sky Sanctuary here. This level was changed, but not necessarily buffed, but the layout is still different. And the real issue is that there's enemies that are placed awkwardly here in DA Garden in comparison to Vanilla, you know, to the original layout. So we've got to avoid a few enemies here and there that are a little hard to avoid. But I do something here where I take the fire shield, which helps me deal with these enemies with a fair bit of ease, so I don't have to worry about these enemies hitting me. So, for example, this isn't an enemy, but I'm still gonna count it anyways. These things, you've gotta go through them if you wanna get to top route. If you wanna get through this as fast as possible, because Kai Sanctuary is just getting up there as fast as possible. And you know, I can hit these little enemies with lasers, with the fire shield, you know. These last two are particularly annoying, and that's why I have fire shield. Do not have to get hit by these annoying enemies that have laser guns. So yeah, this was kind of a weird Sky Sanctuary. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I made a few dumb mistakes that you usually just don't make. But that is fine, you know. Nothing huge. So now in Detect 1, you wanna get up here, because it is faster to do so than taking the other routes. I mean, at least as far as I know, after doing testing, this is like the fastest route I know, you know, up route. This is kind of a new route actually, but still. So you just make it down here, and I tried to not get hit by that, but it is a little bit hard to not get hit by that enemy. And that isn't a huge deal, so at least that is something. So you just land on this thing then goes up. You want to avoid this as well. And I could have made it there a little cleaner, but I didn't fall off, so yeah, this is a good Detect 1 so far. So now we've got arguably the worst boss in the game, and we are already doing great for sure. Yeah, surely. And I somehow still did it somewhat fast, so you kind of just wanna hit this boss properly. Make sure to not lose that rank, because it can mean death, as we saw. But it is fine, because I had the checkpoint. So whatever, we just go back here. We've gotta do it right this time around. So you just wanna bounce on this boss, like with many bosses in this mod, and in S3R in general, where you just use skills to bounce on bosses, and then you just do this. This is how it should have gone the first time around, but it is fine.
Oh,
Also,
well
thank
done.
you for the follow. Crazy, yes. Are there any donations?
I haven't got anything at the moment, but this is a really good run. Keep at it, dude. You're doing really well. That was
Thanks.
that death was unfortunate, but yeah, that second attempt, crikey, that was fast.
Yeah, thanks. Red Eye can be a little rough sometimes. I mean, the second time around, that was actually pretty good. Because you can sometimes, even if you don't die, you can get unlucky on Red Eye, and like it can take you a good while to beat the boss. Sometimes, like, you can lose like more than 10 seconds at times if Red Eye goes really bad. Like, literally more than 10 seconds. Which is kind of what was happening with the second attempt, and I lost the lightning cube here, so I might have to do weird shenanigans now to sort of like do something. And well, I casually fell off, but at least that allowed me to on the second time around just have Tails here to help me out. And well, yeah. I usually wouldn't have to wait for this, but I guess I've gotta wait for this. And, nice, I guess. This is so weird. Oh my god. But don't worry, guys. It's still not that bad.
Third time's the charm. Very nice.
This is harder to do without lightning shield and a little rescue as well. And I don't even know what to say anymore. But we are still underestimate, so it is completely fine. This is just an extremely scuffed final level. That is the only issue, really. The final level usually isn't that scuffed. The problems kind of started when I lost the lightning shield. Kind of. That is why I died so much. Partially. I mean, the other part of the equation was just, you know, actual mess-ups. But, you know, like half of the reason why things went so wrong in that X2 and this run was essentially because of that, because I lost lightning shield. But hey, we made it! So now we are going to fight the last two bosses of the game. This one is called Uwu Ball because it makes Uwu noises, like or something like that. And I just sound so weird when I say Uwu like that or something, but yeah, it is Uwu Ball. So yeah, at least that's what the community calls it, you know, Uwu Ball. And thank you, Tails, for destroying that enemy that I was gonna use to hit the boss, but nothing big. That was less than 5 seconds, thankfully. Because it can actually get pretty messy, all things considered. So this actually went well. Uwu Ball isn't particularly hard, but if you mess it up, you can mess it up real hard and lose like more than 20 seconds. Potentially. I messed up a little, but nothing major. That was almost a 3 cycle, but still pretty good actually. You know, these fingers can be a little hard to deal with sometimes. The ones in the first phase of this final boss. This is the second phase now. We've just gotta try and hit the boss 8 times. And there we go. Now, don't end the timer yet, please. we've still got to defeat Robotnik for real. So we've got 3 hits left. And 1, 2. That is it. And time. That is it. I'm assuming that is sub 55. So that is actually pretty good.
53:30.
50 if late game went a bit better, but it was still good. Like, I don't know how well it went, but I'm assuming it didn't go that bad. So, like, regardless, we still made it under estimate, so that was pretty good.
Oh, well done. That was a really, really good run. It's
Yeah, thanks.
always good to see a nice, fast Sonic run. So well done.
Basically, that is S3 RDA Garden right there. Like, yet again, it isn't that much harder than Vanilla, but it is still different, and some levels can be harder, definitely. So, yeah, that didn't go bad at all. Shout out to RPG and Xepher for finding most of the stuff here. The only thing that you could say I found was the Detect 1 route that I used, but besides that, and a few other things, the vast majority was found by RPG and Xepher, and this mod, like the strategies and the routes. And, well, yeah. Also, shout out to the community in general, I guess. I mean, it is good to shout out to the community. And that being said, I don't have anything else to say. This was a good run, and it was fun doing this run here at this marathon. And I hope that the next runner does pretty well on their run. So good luck to the next runner. And
That's absolutely
bye,
great,
guys.
pal.
And thank you for the GG's, None.
Thank you very much. We have got the next run. Ryan Ford is going to be here with